Jenny Brown. Welcome to this week's MFB News. I hope I find you incredibly well today and you had a really nice, lovely long August bank holiday weekend. This update is going to be super snappy because I'm literally about to head to the airport to go and spend the weekend in Oslo, which is incredibly exciting. I don't know about you guys, but we're kind of just running off the trips that we booked pre all of the kind of inflation, cost of living crisis came in. So yeah, I'm not sure I'd be going ordinarily, particularly as it's one of the most expensive cities in the world, sorry. But you know, we're in for a penny and for a pound, so we're going to go and have a lovely time, and that's probably me done with trips overseas for quite some time. Now, in terms of what we've got for you today, so we're going to do our usual update on lenders. I'm going to let you know where mortgage pricing is sitting now. There's been another flurry of activity. I'm afraid it's not going to be great listening. Then what we're going to do is talk to you about the latest data that's been released in terms of house prices from the Nationwide House Price Index, let you know what's going on there. I'm going to share some information that's been released by Foxtons in terms of the London rental market, which is actually incredibly interesting. And then finally, I'm going to let you in on what other landlords are feeling at the moment, given all the many challenges that we are facing. Okay, so first up this week, the lender changes. So it has been another week of rate increases, I'm afraid. It's interesting, what we're seeing is because the pricing, the cost of money on the money markets is moving around and lenders are struggling to sort of lock in pricing, what we're seeing is swap rates increasing again at the moment, and I'll come on to those in a bit. What we're finding is that lenders are simply having to kind of react to the increased cost of funds essentially. So, but not everybody's reacting every single week. So we have lenders like, for example, the Leeds Building Society, who you'll notice every week I tell you other leads have changed their rates. These guys are incredibly price sensitive and they're literally reacting to the market on an almost daily basis. Other lenders have slightly different funding models and they're not lending off balance sheet. They're kind of relying on the capital markets much more, and these guys don't tend to reprice as frequently, but when they do, you're going to see bigger jumps up. So what essentially breaking it down is clearing banks tend to be smaller, incremental, more regular incremental price increases, whereas these specialist lenders tend to make less frequent but bigger jumps. That's why you're going to see some disparity in terms of the price increases this week. So as an example, the Yorkshire Building Society has raised their rates by 0.75%. Now the Yorkshire Building Society are a commercial lender who lend on limited company buy-to-lets, not to individuals, I hasten to add. Yorkshire Building Society owns Accord Mortgages, and Accord Mortgages deal with the buy-to-lets for individuals. So the Yorkshire Building Society, their commercial proposition is extended to limited company buy-to-lets. These guys haven't moved their pricing up in quite a while. So what they've done instead is make one big increment of 0.75%. The Bank of Ireland have increased their rates by 0.3. The Leeds, there they are again, 0.25% increase from those guys in the last week. We've seen the Cumberland increase their fixed rates on holiday lets by 0.4%. We've seen the Coventry withdraw their 2-year fixed rates and their trackers, and they've increased their 5-year fixed rates. We've seen West One, again a specialist lender, increase their 5-year fixed rates by 0.6%. We've seen TMW increase all of their fixed rates by 1%. Now I don't actually think that's down to increased cost of funds. I think that's down to service levels with the mortgage works. These guys are part of the Nationwide Building Society. They have access to essentially savers money, balance sheet money. I don't think they're quite as exposed to the money markets, but they were pricing up incredibly well. They will have been getting absolutely swamped with new business. So as much to protect their service levels as anything else, that have made this large increment, but I suspect their pricing will ease back down again in the coming weeks. Yeah, once things have kind of calmed down. Now we've seen the Kensington increase rates by 0.3, we've seen Barclays increase their rates by 0.1%, and we've seen Landbay increase their rates by 0.2. Now interestingly, Lendinvest have also increased, who are a specialist lender, increased their rates, all of their rates by 0.5%, apart from their 10-year fixed rates, which have come down. How nice to be able to say that to you at the moment, by 0.12%, so that's really interesting. So another busy week for the lenders, essentially. Now, in terms of swap rates, so what have we seen there? So 5-year swaps are now, were at last at 3.43%. And I say last that these move around all the time, but at the point of kind of preparing this video today, they're at 3.43, so up on last week. 10-year fixed rates had also gone up to 3.06. And 2-year fixed rates are at 3.93, so nearly touching 4% now. So really just showing that the money markets are expecting rates to increase. They are feeling incredibly nervous at the moment. Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. Another base rate meeting in just over a week's time. Now, in terms of mortgage pricing and where that leaves us, so personal rates, 2-year fixed now from 3%, 5-year from 3.1, 10 years from 3.95, and variable rate products from 2.39%. Limited company pricing, 2-year money from 3.99, 5-year from 4.39, 10-year from 4.04, and variable rates from 2.59. So I'm afraid that things are continuing to increase, and that's going to continue once we get into the next base rate increase that we have coming up. Okay, so with what I've just told you about interest rates in mind, how is this impacting the wider market? So first of all, the rental market. So Foxtons have released some data which I found quite interesting. Now this is really specific to the London market, which we know has been through a real roller coaster actually during COVID. So the London letting market, essentially what happened is there were very few people looking to rent properties in London. Lots of people moved away, moved back to family homes, etc, etc. So what we saw is that landlords who would rent a property for say £1,800 per month in ordinary times were dropping their rents down to more like sort of £1,300, £1,400 just to try and get someone in, be able to let the property out. Now what we're seeing is that more and more people have been coming back to London as things have opened up, and we're kind of reverting back to, it does actually feel almost normal now, doesn't it? So I think we can use that term properly, not new normal, just normal. So that has really kind of pushed things along. So what Foxtons have said is that rental prices in London were up 23% year to date compared to the same period last year. Central London produced the highest average weekly rent year to date at £627, which was a 33% increase on 2021. Now what they've gone on to say is that supply continued to be unseasonably low, with new listings across the letting market decreasing 40% year to date, so 21% for Foxtons, which outperformed the market, and 2% month on month, while demand increased 21% year on year, exacerbating the already intense competition for homes. Average rental prices remained within 1% of the record-breaking highs seen in June 2022. So essentially, you know, what we're seeing here again is the supply and demand imbalance really kind of, you know, taking its full effect and really driving up the rental prices in central London. I think it was last week we reported the fact that there are is a 200% increase. When a property comes to let in the market, there's a 200% increase on the number of people who are looking to rent it. Now, the thing that jumped out at me in here is the reporting of really unseasonably low supply being available, and it did sort of make me think, gosh, you know, I wonder why that is. Is it that there's just less buy-to-let properties on the market because landlords are divesting, or what's going on? And I think there's definitely a bit of that. You know, it's interesting at the moment. I have a lot more clients who are sort of, I would say they're determined to sell their buy-to-lets or sell a couple of their buy-to-lets, but they're certainly thinking about it more than normal at the moment. But I also think what's happening is that once properties are actually let, tenants are staying in the properties for longer than ever before. So that means actually properties are becoming vacant less often, which means there's less properties coming to the market for people to take. So actually it's just a slowdown of almost churn, which is causing there to be less stock on the market. But there you go. So actually what we're seeing there is that the London market so far is remaining incredibly robust, and rental figures are on a very sharp increase. Okay, now Nationwide have released their latest house price data, and what they are reporting is that annual house price growth slowed in August but remained in double digits for the 10th month in a row. So the average house price rose by 10% year on year to £273,751 and by 0.8% month on month and the average price of £271,209 in July. And this increase is the 13th successive monthly price growth recorded by Nationwide, and as a result of the continuous price hikes, the average UK house is now £50,000 more expensive than it was 2 years ago. Can this continue? I think that is the $1 million question. I mean, at the moment, I think actually, yeah, if interest rates don't go too crazy, then yeah, absolutely, I think we are going to see house prices hold firm. I think the slowdown in house price growth is going to obviously, you know, continue, and things are definitely going to feel very different at the end of this year in terms of it being a much more subdued growth trajectory. However, I do think it will be a growth trajectory unless something really crazy happens with interest rates and they suddenly go up higher than is predicted. So 2.5% by the end of this year is the prediction. If things go massively over that, we may see a very different story. But for now, it looks like the UK property market is continuing to hold relatively firm. Now, the Mortgage Works have released their latest regional snapshot, which covers Q2 of this year from their landlord panel. And interestingly that they're reporting there has been a negative movement across each of the key landlord confidence indicators this quarter. So I'm just going to go through and share some data to give you an idea about how your landlord peers are feeling about landlording. I don't think that's a word, but anyway. So first of all, in terms of landlords' outlook and confidence, so expectations over the next 3 months rated as very good or good. So for rental yields, 45% of landlords are feeling good or very good about rental yields, which is a drop of 10%. Capital gains, 42% are feeling good or very good. That's a drop of 8%. Feeling good about their own letting business, 36% of landlords are feeling good about it, which is a drop of 11%. So we're definitely a reduction in confidence in terms of, I think, just the robustness of the market is how I would read into that. Now, another thing that they're reporting on, which I find really interesting, is problems experienced. So 36% of landlords are reporting having had rental arrears in the last 12 months, and that is an increase of 3%. And no doubt that can only be, one would assume, would be linked to the increase in household costs and inflation. As people struggle to keep up with the cost of inflation, you know, that's only inevitable that some people will therefore struggle to keep up with their rental payments as well. 26% of landlords have had a void in the last 3 months. That also feels quite high, actually, although they haven't actually commented how that compares to the previous quarter. Now, in terms of the private rental sector dynamics, so 60% of landlords are reporting an increase in tenant demand, which is a positive thing. However, that is a reduction of 2% compared to the previous quarter. Interestingly, 8% of landlords bought a property in the last 3 months, and 12% have sold a property in the last 3 months. Now, interestingly, from the data set that they're using, they do survey 708 landlords actually responded to this survey. So the average rental yield that these guys are getting is 5.7%. I don't know how it marries up against your own portfolio. The landlords in this product set have an average of 5.4 properties within their portfolio. So I think that's really interesting reading. So landlord confidence has been really, really growing quarter on quarter. As we came out of lockdown, it was actually incredibly low during lockdown, as you would imagine, but it's really, really recovered. And actually some of the reporting that we've seen from the Mortgage Works when they're doing these surveys had shown that landlords were kind of like confidence is at an all-time high. But that does look to be waning, and I think understandably so, actually. On the subject of rental yields, I mean, even, you know, myself, my own buy-to-let property, or one of them, my tenant's in arrears now and is really struggling. So I do think we're in for a slightly bumpy road. And there are definitely, there's much more dissent amongst landlords at the moment. Now, we do find that landlords can be, they kind of react in terms of how they're feeling about things quite closely to in terms of market movement. So actually, I don't think that the landlords are kind of all going to sell up and leave the market and we're all doomed forever. But at the moment, they are feeling slightly concerned. And I think, you know, that's really, really valid. So, you know, from our perspective, while we can't obviously control rental yields and the rest of it, what we can do is obviously have a look at your portfolio and look to see if there's any way we can financially reconfigure things, lock in interest rates, maybe raise some capital to give you a buffer to cover you if things get a little bit difficult over the coming months, and we can see if we can support you in that way. And that is everything for me this week. Off to Oslo I go. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found that helpful, and as always, if you do have any questions, would like to discuss anything that we've talked about, do give us a call 0345 345 6788, or have a look at our website mortgagesforbusiness.co.uk. Have a wonderful weekend. I will catch you same time next week.